This is our channel, Savage Insomniac Radio. I'm gonna try to show some crochet stuff. I normally like to start at the beginning of a crochet project so I can kind of establish how a pattern is done, and I probably will go back and do that. But this is called the waffle stitch, and I think you can kind of see why it sort of looks like a waffle, and it does. And I've wanted to. It is complicated, but it looks more complicated than it is. So at the end of each double crochet row, you chain two. And this is actually just a way of turning and keeping your work relatively straight at the edge. For me anyway, there are some cheats that can make it even straighter. I'm not going to go into those. They actually make things more complicated when you turn rows. But I might talk about it in case somebody actually doesn't like at the end of the rows where they're kind of more like bumpy. But I'm not going to talk about it right now. I will introduce it as a concept. It's called the stack single crochet that you can do at the end of a row. But I'll probably try to come back to that or show that at the end of this. So you start out in this row with this particular thing. I'm just going to show, the reason I want to show it is kind of to show intricacy, because people often don't understand that crocheting is intricate, and so they don't understand why it costs. So I'm doing a double crochet into the end of the row, and then I'm going to do what's called a front post double crochet around this stitch. The way that you know you're doing it right is that it will actually line up, and you'll kind of see this stitch popping out here on this side. And then the next one is just a regular double crochet into the next stitch. This can be complicated. A lot of people will miss a stitch, and when I say a lot of people, I actually mean me. So you have to really kind of watch what you're doing, and I hate the word, but be mindful or aware of where you're going into. You kind of have to be a little bit more aware until you memorize the stitch. So now I'm going into, I did these two back ones, and now I'm going into this front post. It sticks forward, pops out, and that's how I know I did the right stitch too, because it's popping out. And then I'm going to go back behind here and do another two double crochets. And I would do what the person who taught this did, and to show you why you're doing these two double crochets here. But when she taught that actually confused me. So I'm gonna wait. It does make sense, but not the way she did it. So there you're going into that front post again, and it lines up. But you can kind of see where this is not, I mean, some people go really fast with crocheting, and I actually can. But, you know, like, you can get a lot of mistakes when you do that, which are not the worst to cover up. But, I guess I kind of feel like, you know, you have to pay. The way that you base a crochet piece is how long it takes you to do each row times the total number of rows, and then times like $1, like a rate per hour, which I think should be at least $15 an hour. And then you want to, you know, do your supplies, and I honestly think it should at least be the cost of supplies, or the cost of supplies times 3, because you have to be able to make back. And so, like, let's say you took an hour to do something, it would be $15 minimum, or even 20. And then plus, let's say your supplies were $5 or something like this, it probably wouldn't be 5. Let's say it was something like $2. Then it'd be 6 plus about 15 or 20. You have to pay. So you may be looking at $30 for something like this. You may not. It may be like 25 or something. But because I haven't actually done the work on this to see how long it takes. But so I just keep going into one, to the front post that's there, and then go back behind and do 2 double crochets. Like I said, I'm not necessarily doing this as a teaching or instructional video, because unless you were pretty established, you would not be doing this type of stitch. You're at least going to be doing single crochet, slip stitch, and double crochet before you attempt front post and back post, or even just front post regular double crochet. It can be really complicated when you haven't done those base stitches. You have to kind of master tension. I think even my daughter would say that, because I taught her. So, like, but you can kind of see, and this is getting now to the point where it's probably done, because it's square. And here I am going through this last front post, the double crochet, and then there is just one left. It also has a chain 3 attached to it. I just go into the top of this stitch because there is actually a stitch at the corner, and that is the last stitch. The way to know whether, I mean, it depends on what kind of washcloth that you want. This is, for me, a washcloth at this point, and it is square, so I am going to stop. And it has a nice look to it, so I hope it's in view. I'm sorry if it's not. I cannot stand that when people do videos and they're not in view, but it's to give you an idea. I don't actually think this took me that long. It's more kind of a learning curve of it. And I like that it is nice and square.
It did turn out very square. That's
now,
nice.
I'm going to teach something, and this has nothing to do with this stitch. So if you want to do what's called a stacked single crochet, you actually won't chain any at the end, and you'll turn your work, and you go into this is why I remember, you go into this first stitch, and you, sorry, it's kind of tight.
And zoom in a little bit to make sure it's more seen.
You do a single crochet, and then there's like one thing at the top, and you're going to go into the side here and do a single, sorry, kind of drives me crazy when people do this on camera, so I'm sure you're yelling at me right now. But you do another single crochet, and this creates, and then you would go in, and if you're doing double crochets, you, in the next stitch, you just do a double crochet. And what happens when you do that, and you notice it over more time, is this actually creates a more straight edge. I was actually surprised by it because I'm used to that little bump at the end. So I would just, and I will probably show this again, but it is kind of a cool little nifty trick. You know, I'm going to end on that. I took it out because it doesn't go with this piece, and I'm not going to do single crochet or any. I might go, actually I might go around. Did she do that?
She does a border around it.
Yeah, so I might go around it with single crochet all the way around this. And I believe I am at the end where I did.
It looks like a square there.
Yeah, I have to make sure it ends on an even row. I think that's what she said. So you count up. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always get lost in the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Do I have to do one more? No, maybe
I think
it's 12.
It's 12.
It's 12. So it's even, I think.
We can double.
I'm gonna double check.
I'm gonna pause it and double.
Yeah, I'll double. So this is 14 rows, and you just want to make sure you count. So my daughter was saying like each of these squares is 1.
It's each of them is 2 rows, 2, so you can
4,
just
6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Another way of knowing it is you end on one double crochet stitch. At the end of the odd rows, you actually end with 2, I believe.
Yes.
So part of why I don't like the way this gal taught is that she didn't really kind of just go through row 2, row 3, row 4, and then maybe say, okay, now you're going to repeat row 1 and row 2. Like, you kind of get people used to the pattern first. So I think with this, and I'm going to have to, so in order to know, I'm going to have to go in and figure out how I do my single crochets. Like if I chain 1, say here at the end, I think I might.
Yeah.
And then go in here. So I'm going to have to figure that out before I start doing it because it annoys me to have to pull out stitches. So anyway, even if you wanted to just end this off like this,
it's a really
this
pretty
is actually
thing.
okay to just end like this and not do any stitches around it. So even if you don't want to put a single crochet, when you put single crochets around stuff, you usually do actually chain 1 or 2 at the corner, and you do like 1 or 2 stitches at the end of each row. You might even do an extra stitch here of single crochet for turning that corner, you know, like, because you got to make sure you got enough corner stitches. And that's why I might come back and do this thing from start to finish so that people can see it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration. Even if you didn't learn anything from it, you learned, you know, that it takes a little bit to go across. And yeah, you got to do that 1, 2, 3, you got to do that 14 times to make this. And who knows, that may not actually take that long. I have to see. Now that I have this stitch down, it might not take that long. Thanks for stopping in. Bye-bye.